The top stories for the hour. The African Refiners and Distributors Association Fifth Jet Fuel Workshop kicks off. And Forum for African Women Educationalists launches the second phase of its forum in Ethiopia to promote gender equality in education. Hello and very warm welcome to EBC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism from the capital Addis Ababa with the news. I'm Binyam Getane along with the technical crew. To stay tuned here now, the news in detail. Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Taye Asqaselase, held talks with his Chinese Foreign Affairs Minister Wang Yi on the margins of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York on Monday. During their bilateral talks, Foreign Minister Taye said the summit is pivotal in further enhancing not only China-African ties but also the strategic partnership between Ethiopia and China. On his part, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi commended the key role Ethiopia plays in regional as well as African affairs and stressed the continued significance of the all-weather strategic partnership agreement between the two countries to anchor cooperation in several fields. He informed Ethiopian Foreign Minister Taye on his country's firm commitment to implementing the economic cooperation projects and the tax-exempt market opportunities. In addition to bilateral matters, Taye also briefed Foreign Minister Yi on regional peace and security in the Horn of Africa, and they also exchanged views on ways of enhancing cooperation in BRICS and various international fora between Ethiopia and China. Meanwhile, the Chinese embassy in Addis Ababa, together with Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, held a seminar aimed to create awareness about the establishment of the International Organization for Mediation, which aims to promote peaceful dispute settlement. The seminar is expected to bring together African countries into negotiation for establishment of the new organization. This seminar is expected to serve as a vital platform for sharing insights and explore opportunities to enlighten the participants about International Organization for Mediation as an international forum for a peaceful dispute settlement. It has been indicated that the organization will be the world's first intergovernmental legal organization dedicated to resolving international disputes through mediation, which is committed to providing friendly, flexible, cost-effective and convenient solutions for international disputes. Ethiopian senior government official from Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, officials of Chinese embassy here in Addis Ababa and multi-ambassador from African have taken part in the seminar. In related development, Chinese ambassador to the African Union and representative to the UNESA, Ambassador Hu Chanchun, underscored that the 2024 Summit of the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation is an important milestone in the history of China-Africa relations to further heighten into a higher level. The summit underway this September under the theme Joining Hands to Advance Modernization and Build a High-Level China-Africa Community with a Shared Future brought together leaders from 53 African countries which have diplomatic relations with China and chairperson of the African Union Commission. In his address to participants, Ambassador Chan Chun took stock of the journey of China-African friendship, commending the progress made implementing the outcomes of FOCAC and reached a clear consensus on strengthening cooperation across the board. It was noted that nearly 6,000 Chinese and foreign guests, including the Secretary General of the United Nations as a special guest and representative from more than 30 international and Africa regional organizations, attended the great event.
Among Africa's 54 countries, one nation stands alone. Welcome to Ethiopia. When it comes to history, Ethiopia has a story to tell.
Oh, so you took that's behind it also, no?
Yes, boss.
Good morning from the largest lake in Ethiopia. I am in Bahida, which is very north of the country.
It is the oldest civilized region in Africa, with more than 25 centuries of documented history. The Mercato is the biggest market in Africa.
So welcome to Mercato Market. This is the largest open-air market on the African continent.
That is delicious.
Say hello to our ancient ancestors.
This is pretty.
Hi, how are you guys? You don't mind on the video? It's all good? Yeah. Is the celebration this way? Is there
I do.
like a parade?
Hey guys, Bishoftu Memorial Park, guys. So this is beautiful place. We just
One of the responsibilities of men here is to protect the tribe.
We feed each other.
You want some egg? So he's the chief of 650 people.
Yeah.
There are the Dorze, a highland tribe who receives clothing,
Up now.
where men jump over cattle to
Oh my gosh, I'm short. You short people do this?
Welcome to Bole International Airport.
Welcome back. As the news continues, the Saudi Arabia ambassador to Ethiopia, Fahad Abdul Aid, and Al-Mahdi said the Saudi-Ethiopian relations have witnessed tangible progress in various areas. This remark was made while Saudi Arabia marked its 94th National Day in the presence of top Ethiopian officials and diplomatic communities residing in Addis Ababa. And a vibrant celebration of Saudi Arabia's 94th National Day festivities in Addis Ababa highlighted the growing significance of Saudi-Ethiopian relations, he underscored. Ambassador Al-Medin further said Ethiopia's significant economic reform and urban development projects have brought positive impacts. Nugusu Kabeda, Director General of Middle East, Asian and Pacific Affairs, underscored the historic relations between Ethiopia and Saudi Arabia during the occasion. Ethiopia and Saudi Arabia's diplomatic relations, spanning more than 70 years, are strengthened by the growing economic ties as Saudi investments have driven Ethiopia's ambition for development. As Saudi Arabia celebrates its National Day, the festivities in Addis Ababa underscored a bright future for Saudi-Ethiopian relations marked by cooperation, mutual benefit and shared aspirations. In other domain, Africa has long relied on fossil fuels-related energy sources to support the continent's economic development. Coal, biomass and oil have been the primarily readily available energy sources. The International Energy Agency and its African Energy Outlook 2019 clearly stated that Africa's energy demand is expected to grow by about 45% now in 2040, and fossil fuels will comprise about 54% of the continent's primary energy mix by that time. Meanwhile, the African Refiners and Distributors Association's ARDA's Fifth Jet Fuel Workshop has kicked off. The three-day workshop has brought together giant oil refiners, which aim to be able to create a platform aiming to bridge the energy demand gap across Africa. Speaking on the occasion, CEO of the National Oil Ethiopian Tadeset Alone lauded the giant stride Ethiopia has made in Green Legacy Initiative, mega hydropower development, solar and geothermal energy, sustainable aviation fuel, and the CEO reiterated a balanced approach with traditional energy sources is mandatory.
While we work to fully harness our hydro, solar, wind, and geothermal resources, it is important to acknowledge that traditional energy sources, particularly biomass, will still continue to be with us as the major part of our energy mix, especially for domestic consumption. At this point, I must clearly state that I'm not advocating for Ethiopia to its to turn its back on renewable energies. Instead, my objective is to humbly request that a balanced approach is used to ensure that our country's primary energy mix is diversified in a sustainable manner that encompasses both fossil fuels while gradually diversifying into renewable energies as their technology becomes more mature and cost-effective. I'm proud of the giant strides that Ethiopia has made in hydropower generation, given the aforementioned high dependency that our country has on imported fuels and the infrastructure challenges.
The CEO further stressed that the shift from biomass and fossil fuel energy mix is not just a choice, but is a critical necessity for achieving sustainable development and improving the well-being of citizens.
The shift from predominantly biomass and fossil fuel energy mix is not just a choice, but a critical necessity for achieving sustainable development and improving the well-being of our citizens. However, we must recognize that transitioning to renewable comes with significant challenges. The current supply of modern energy is inadequate to meet the growing demand, which limits the economic growth. Moreover, the rapidly increasing energy demand cannot be met by hydro, solar, wind, and geothermal sources alone, as these are still at their developmental stage.
Meanwhile, African Refiners and Distributors Association ARDA Executive Secretary Anibor Oli Karaga, for his part, stated that mechanisms need to be put in place in order to get energy products across the continent.
Now, it's one thing to have the products, but you have to actually get them across the continent. And I started by talking about where in Ethiopia, landlocked, what they have to go through a single port in Djibouti to get their products here. We have to focus on where we're going to make the storage and distribution investments to ensure that we can balance our energy security with energy transition going forward. We need to look at what's the refining outlook per country, what capacity we have now, what's projected, and we must also start to look at regional Pan-African oil and product pipelines. The numbers are there. We have grossly inadequate infrastructure. We need to start to look at a plan to put this in place across the continent. We must also look at our ports, okay? We need to focus on ports, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a little bit, because when you have ports with a minimum depth of 14 meters, you actually start to reduce your costs by about on average $15 per metric ton. When you look at countries like Nigeria that are producing and importing massive amounts, you start to see where these numbers start to make sense.
In the same token, a cleaner renewable energy option is expected to play a greater role in Africa if scaled up to meet up to the level of growing energy demand that the continent's population grows, economic development, and associated with urbanization will require. In other news, the Forum for African Women Educationalists, a Pan-Africanist NGO, says is working to promote gender equality and equity in education in higher institutions in collaboration with pertinent stakeholders. The organization launched the second phase of its forum in Ethiopia to address the root cause that hinder the young generation from acquiring quality education. Shagawi Matao has compiled the full story. Have a look.
The Forum for African Women Educationalists FAWE is a Pan-Africanist non-governmental organization established in 1992 by 5 women ministers of education to promote girls' and women's education, especially in the sub-Saharan African region, in line with education for all principle. As part of this move, FAWE Ethiopia Phase 1 started in 2012 and has been operating in the country to promote inclusive and quality education for young girls and women. Following the conclusion of the first phase, FAWE Ethiopia launched the second phase in collaboration with Mastercard Foundation. Reacting on the significance of the launching of the second phase, Marta Mwezi, Executive Director at Forum for African Women Educationalists, told EBC World at this dialogue that the initiative seeks to promote gender equality and equity in education so that every young citizen can have access for education.
For Ethiopia, like many other organizations in Ethiopia, I want to believe, work towards ensuring that there's gender equity and equality in education, to ensure that each and every person is given an opportunity to go to school. Whether you're rich or you're poor, education is a right, and each and every person should have the opportunity to get education. So what FAWE Ethiopia does, one of the things is partnering with other organizations that are also doing similar work and looking at the causes for why some of the girls may not be in school, or even some of the boys why they may not be in school, looking at what the causes are and trying to work with other organizations, with government, particularly with the Ministry of Education, to see how to address the barriers that stop girls and boys from getting into school.
The executive director also pointed out that the platform is vital to address the root causes that hinder the young generation from acquiring quality education through conducting research.
So what FAWE Ethiopia does, one of the things is also to understand the challenges, to understand the problems that the young people are facing. And these problems stem right from the family, at family level. And so when you understand what's happening, you are better placed to develop or generate interventions that address the actual problems. And one way of doing it is through research. We do a lot of research to try and find out. We interface with communities. We work with communities very, very closely because the children belong to the community. And even much as FAWE Ethiopia comes in to support, they don't take away the responsibilities from the parents. So they also work with the parents, they work with the guardians to make sure that they take on their responsibilities and that they're also able to support the young people.
Lack of parental responsibilities, policy implementation, and inadequate resources are the major challenges that our organization is working to tackle along with other partners.
So some of the challenges, of course, go with funding. Like I said, the problem is big. And if you don't have the rightful resources, that is both the human resource, the financial resource, the time, if you don't have that, then definitely it becomes a big challenge. And as not only FAWE, but most of the civil society organizations, we have very good ideas in terms of what needs to be done. For instance, if you're talking about quality education, but the biggest challenge are the resources. The funding sources gets limited. And that's why even as we launch this program, we are very proud of the Mastercard Foundation because for the time we have implemented, we started off with 10 years in Ethiopia. Now we are extending it for another 7 years. That's a long period of time. And within a period of 17 years, a lot will have changed. A lot will have been addressed.
The executive director called on governments, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders to intensify their assistance to realize gender equity and equality in higher institutions.
Now a reminder of the top stories once again. The African Refiners and Distributors Association's 5th Jet Fuel Workshop kicks off. And the Forum for African Women Educationalists launched the second phase of its forum in Ethiopia to promote gender equality in education. Well, you've been watching ABC World, the voice of Pan-Africanism from the capital, Addis Ababa. Do stay tuned with the remaining program, and goodbye for now.